So how should we understand Revelation 12, specifically verse 3 and 6, and the part about the male child? Is this the woman who is taken? Yeah, so the woman and the dragon and the woman that's taken up, specifically verse 3 and 6, and the part about the male child fractally, or is it a singular narrative only about Jesus Christ? No, I don't think it is only about Jesus Christ. If you look at the structure, you can see what it is in the sense that you have this extreme world of the whore and the beast, right? The dragon and the whore. And so you can understand that those two things, the whore and the beast, they don't make children, right? They're not a union of heaven and earth. They're like a caricature of the union of heaven and earth. They're like extremes riding each other. I've talked about this often in terms of how extremes call to each other and make each other possible. And so in that time, the woman with the child, right? The woman that is producing the future, the woman that is producing the actual connection between heaven and earth, in some ways she has to hide. She gets hidden in a cave, like the prophets, in the time of Elijah, or, she becomes small like a seed. We don't see her. It becomes difficult to see that union. And so in some ways she gets taken up, you could say, because the world is kind of falling apart in these extremes. And so I think that it is definitely an image of Christ and his mother, but it is also, like you said, a fractal relationship of understanding that in a world that becomes extreme, the aspects which are actually connected and productive are persecuted. They become like a weird upside down margin. Like they're not the margin, but they're treated like the margin. They get discarded, they get persecuted, they get rejected. And then as the world collapses, right, they get taken up, and then they become the seed for the next world. Maybe something like that. Yeah, so in the text, because I see you posted it later, it says, so the dragon stands before the woman and waits to devour her child. It's like that's what the dragon does. Right? The dragon eats that which is truly productive, eats the connection between heaven and earth, and so you can see it. So in 26, it says, the one who conquers and who keeps my works until the end, to him I will give authority over the nations, and he will rule them with a rod of iron. And when earthen pots are broken in pieces, even as I myself have received authority from my Father. And so that's what he's saying. It's like the works that you do, like the works that are the works of God, the works of love. In a world where things are falling apart and the extremes appear, those people will become persecuted. They'll become invisible. They will become, and so I think you can see it now. I mean, maybe 50 years ago you couldn't see it, but now you can see it. And so the idea is those who persevere until the end, they will become rulers of the next world. So think of Noah. It's the story of Noah. So Noah keeps the word of God, is a just man, and he's the only one in the entire generation, and everybody's going crazy, and everybody's losing their minds, and everybody's is destroying each other, and he keeps the word of God, and because of that, then he becomes the seed for the next world and becomes the origin of the next world, literally. So it's not just that he rules the next world, but he's actually the father of all the humans after him. And so a new beginning. So that's what this is talking about. So Marcus David asks, hi Jonathan, the book of Revelation predicts a world dominated by the system of the beast and by the whore. Is this by extension a prediction of a world where the vast majority of females are the whore? It does appear that that's what's taking shape with, for example, the sudden emergence and widespread prevalence of female digital prostitution on OnlyFans, blah, blah, blah. In a recent survey, Gen Z females were asked about their ideal way to make money, and the majority answered OnlyFans. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it's not just that, but it is that. It's going to happen that way too. It's a fractal thing like anything. And so you could understand that the world dominated by the system, by the beast and the whore, it's two extremes. I've talked about it before. It's like on the one hand, it's tyrannical uniformity, and on the other hand, it's chaotic dissolution. and those two partner together. They call each other. And so, and if you think that that doesn't make any sense, think about how I've mentioned this before. Rock and roll culture, punk rock, cannot exist outside of a of an invasive, all-present state that makes it safe and possible for you to become a complete degenerate. It's like degeneracy is not possible in a fragile world. It's not possible without massive systems of control, because the world will eat you. And so you need these super strict buffers to keep out the chaos and to kind of give you an illusion that things are holding together, so that you can now be a total degenerate and in there. And so it's not, so yes, it's true that you could say that many women will become that's part of the pattern. But if you can't just see it that way, you have to understand it at all the levels that it's playing out, or else you're not going to understand. And so, for example, it's like a lot of Christians are super capitalist, and they're super free market, and they're all these things. Well, read the description of the whore, and it's like, yeah, it's a description of the free market. It's a description of trade as a good in itself, right? Of monetary gain and wealth accumulation as a good in itself. And that is related to the whore and to the degeneracy, which comes within an extremely solid tyrannical system. And so, yeah, but you're right that you're going to see more of that, and you're going to keep seeing the birth rate go down for a while, at least for a very long while. A good example, actually, to understand the beast is to think of contraception. It's like this super technical solution makes it possible for people to be completely like a degenerate without consequence. And so it's like, that's a very simple one to understand the whore riding the beast, let's say. Without this mass industrial production of contraceptives and the technology and the research and all of this going into contraception, that you couldn't have, this kind of this rule of the whore that we have now. It just couldn't exist, because women would get pregnant, and then you couldn't, it's like it would just make everything a lot more complicated, let's say. The same with abortion, like this technical system of providing abortions through like centralized health systems. Like that's the same issue. Like without that, there can be no. Yeah.